Hello, hello. We're getting set up here. Woo, this morning. I'm gonna hold that closer. Hold me closer. Do 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 do. Bum bum bum. Do 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 do. Honestly, I need a tech support. How's that? A little bit. You can see the art. It's to cover up a plug. Okay, vibe check. Vibe check, vibe check. Wow, I'm having a very late start to the day. I was up super late last night. This is me, very fresh, very fresh face. And I'm moving slow, and I was gonna do a live yoga practice, and my microphone for that system needs to be charged. So we're gonna hop over here to this live to just talk a little more about what I was getting at yesterday around energy and needing an appropriate amount of energy depending on what it is that you are doing in the world. What is this? Oh, cool. Retouch. I just turned the retouch on, so nobody's in the stream yet. Maybe we'll edit that transition later. Anyhow, so energy, right? And energy in the system so that you are able to administer your life. I saw something yesterday on TikTok, and it was a woman. I don't follow her. It was like in the For You algorithm. You hear that beeping? It's a scooter. Someone's trying to do something out there. So there was this woman on TikTok, and she was just talking about her process. Hello and welcome. If you want to say hi and leave, your name in the chat or where you're coming in from. We're talking about energy and having enough energy in the system. Let me know if you can't hear me, if this isn't coming through. Type, let me know. Welcome. So having enough energy in the system to be able to manifest what it is that you want to manifest in your life. And we miss this. We think we have to think it into existence. And, we make these certain moves in life, like even on social media, where all of a sudden you go viral, all of a sudden you have some success happening, and then you don't actually have the energy to hold it or to contain it. So I want to talk about that, I guess you could say, concept a little bit here in this live. So I saw this woman on TikTok, and she was talking about getting a lot of hate for whatever it was that she was discussing. I don't know if it was political. I don't know what it was. I didn't go too deeply into it. But my overall very general feeling was that she didn't have the energy to really hold what was happening. And I feel like if you're going to be on these types of platforms, if you want your business to be successful, and if you are a forward-facing type of person, then you need a certain amount of energy moving through your system to be able to sustain it, to be able to hold it, to be able to hold yourself in your center when you have a lot of negativity coming your way. Whether or not the negativity is warranted, or, it's just people online being negative, because that is something that is a reality. You need the energy to not go into that place of all of a sudden you're thinking what people are projecting onto you, right? That you are a horrible person, or you're ugly, you're fat, you're this, that, and the other. because people are going to say what they want to say, but the reality is that you are on your mission to do the thing that you are here to do. And there's going to be, 30% or so people who support what you're doing, who are like totally, totally into it. And then you're going to have like another 30% or so. I think it's 33 is like the golden ratio, if you will, right? 33% who love what you're doing, 33% who hate what you're doing and want to tear you down, and another 33% who just don't even understand who you are, what you're doing. So our job as creators, right, not just digital creators, but creators on the planet, creators in life, is to engage with those, of course, that support us, and to also communicate with the ones that are maybe they don't know. They haven't made a decision yet. So that takes energy. And anything that you're going to do in your life takes energy. So how do we bring that energy into the system? And, for many of us, energy is like coffee, it's food, it's kind of like the base level physical things that we need. Some good sleep at night, right? Some vitamins in the system, like this kind of a thing. As well, there is energy that comes into the system through our breath and through prana and through a realignment of the physical body, right? So even if I just sit myself up a little bit taller, I can breathe, right? I'm exaggerating, right, for the sake of communicating this, but I can start to feel my body open. And instead of my heart, right, being here, which is a huge energetic source, my heart is now lifted and open. And therefore more energy is moving through the system. And if you don't believe in energy, then, or if you're like, well, what is that? I don't understand it. Like, look at a Chinese medicine chart. Look at the meridians. Look at the map of the body. All of those lines of energy in the yogic system, we call them nadis. I think of them as like highways and rivers, and where the energy is just continuously flowing through the system. And then those lines of energy interact with the organs in the body, and the organs are communicating to the brain, right? And the brain is also communicating to the organs through the vagus nerve. So you have that theory. And our job then is to help those rivers and to help those roads flow smoothly and constructively. And that is the practice of yoga at its core. Cleaning the body, cleaning the system, organizing ourselves in a way where the energy can then flow and we can come more into our center. And this is something that is also really intriguing, to kind of look at the landscape of humanity and look at the polarization of humanity. You're either way over here. If you look at it in the world of like American politics, which I do because I'm from America, you've got extreme right, you've got extreme left, and those are polarizations. And we have that within ourselves. We have a right and a left side of our whole nervous system, and the way that those sides interact and play out with one another. And what yoga and meditation does is it brings us into neutrality, it brings us into our center. And when we're in our center, we naturally have more energy. We naturally have more relaxation in the body. We have more calm in the mind, which means that if we're having a moment where we are embracing a certain shift in life, let's say a successful shift, there's going to be those that love us, there's going to be those that don't know about us, and there's going to be those that want to tear us down. Now, do I give all of my energy to the people that want to tear me down? Does that make sense? No, I don't want to give energy to that. I want to just stand tall, heart open, and keep walking forward. Which is like an interesting practice online if you're somebody who likes to leave comments on things, and and you can see like who likes your comment, and then you trigger someone and they try to trigger you back. And, and it's like, how much energy am I going to really give to this? Am I going to spend all day on the comments, like defending or, trying to like make my point? And you see this here on the island of Thailand. You see this in these like groups on Facebook and the way that people are interacting with one another. And it's like, whoa, who has the energy for that? Who has the energy for hate? People do. And there's also these bots, these farm bots, and like this whole like coalition, of like trying to point the minds in like a certain way. And that's like another aspect of yoga that's very powerful, is that it can bring you a lot of sovereignty, because if it brings you into your center, then you're less controlled by other people's perspectives. You're less likely to give up your values, to give up your morals, to just kind of hand things over to a group think type of situation, and you are there continuing to think for yourself, and perhaps maybe even being a better leader to those around you. Which leadership, there's different levels of leadership. I'm into diplomacy. And what is diplomacy? Diplomacy is, to a certain degree, neutrality. What is the benefit for many versus just the benefit for myself? And a solid yoga practice is going to put your mentality into that space, along with having a good teacher that's going to guide you there, right? Because not every yoga class and every yoga style is going to just automatically do that for you. And most yogic practice is a very slow process of evolution. It's meant to be that way from a traditional hatha perspective. It's a slow Kundalini awakening, right? Versus these like abrupt Kundalini awakenings that a lot of people are very intrigued by and very fascinated by. And a lot of times those awakenings don't really integrate, whereas a slower yogic practice, there's more integration. Therefore, there's more evolution over a longer period of time. And you start to see it in your thinking and in the way that you see the world and in the way that you interact with the world. And the mind is less co-opted. So again, we want to have energy in the system to be able to do what it is that we need to do in our life. And this is where it gets tricky when you don't love what you're doing in life and you really want to be doing something else, some other way of living, but you're not quite there and you're feeling really buried underneath the pressure of just surviving. And I have a lot of compassion for that place that a lot of people are in. And I've definitely been in that place where it just kind of feels like the whole world is pressing down. And is there a way out? Is there a way forward? I'm a very optimistic person by nature, so I feel like I can always transform the obstacle. And yogic practices and yogic philosophy has also given me a lot of that, where it's like, no, you can transform this. You just have to really show up to it. And, I've never been in a situation where it's been like super psychological violence, like this kind of thing. I think that is obviously another type of conversation. I don't come from extreme poverty, but I do come from a much poorer background than most people. So there's been a lot of, working in life to get to where I am today versus handouts happening. There has also been an extreme amount of luck, I would say, and very divine alignment. But overall, having a consistent yoga practice and a consistent meditative practice, spiritual practice for over 20 years, I know that whatever the struggle is that I'm facing and whatever the obstacle is that I'm facing, that I have to show up to it. And showing up to it means I need to put energy in my system to be able to move forward, to not just like bury my head in the sand, which is very easy to do here on the island of Koh Phangan. I live on a tropical island now. I've lived here for 5 years. So it's very easy to distract oneself, to put things off, to not really have to show up because you can kind of get away with doing the bare minimum. There's no one watching over you. There's no authority over you, right? You're an adult, you're a human, like living in this world. And in some cases, it can be like, ooh, excuse me, it can be like a playground. So discipline, right? This is coming back to that definition that we talked about yesterday, where discipline is showing up when the thrill has worn off, when the romance is over, and putting in the effort and in the work, knowing that you're going to get that romance again, right? It's going to come back. You're going to plateau for a while, and then you're going to plateau, and that's the nature of it, right? How do I sort of continually up level, not because I need to make myself more perfect or fit into some, idea of what I need to look like, or, what my material world needs to be, but it's just human evolution. Hi, welcome. Please feel free to say hello. Thank you so much for the comments. Maybe let me know where you are coming in from. I am just talking about motivation, discipline, energy, and all of this is from a yogic perspective and what I've gained over my, many years of practice now. So let me know if you have a yoga practice, if you meditate, how you discipline yourself. Do you feel like you're disciplined? How do you stay motivated? All of these things. It is a confrontation with the self. And I think that's just across the boards for all of us, for everyone. How do we confront it? How do we keep ourselves motivated? How do we keep ourselves inspired? How do we keep going? And how do we recognize the value of that discipline, the value of the energy that we are creating in our system so that we can administer to our life? And that for me is such a, administration, because when you think administration, you just think like, oh, office. I'm an administrator, right? And you are administrating your world and your life. How am I going to move through life on this day? What is it that I want to create? What are all of the things that I need to get done? And there's a bit of an illusion around like multitasking and being so busy, and sometimes we can be so busy, but we're not really pushing the needle forward. And if we are, it's like super, super incremental. So one way that I like to align myself is to really understand what it is that I'm pushing forward, and what is the cycle of this? Like what is the cycle? How much energy am I giving to this aspect? For what period of time am I putting my energy into it? And where do I want it to go in that period of time? That is an administrative mind. Where do I want this to go? What are my goals around this? Especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're someone that, has a business interacting with people, right? You have clients and you have a product and this kind of a thing. I think it's very easy to get disillusioned on the internet when there's so much advice coming in, right? There's so much, so many people that have so much to say about what you should be doing with social media, what you should be doing in your business and your newsletters and your frequency online, and you've got to create the reels and you've got to create the stories and, all of this. And it's like, whoa, and it can just really leave you spinning. So how do I take a step back and not just create like, I'm going to create my content calendar and da 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 da, right? Like robotic, but like really try to take a step back and see like where do I want this relationship to go? How much energy have I put into it? Where am I at? How much more energy do I need to really push it forward before maybe taking on the next task? Or if I have two simultaneous tasks that I'm responsible for, like how much energy do I need in my system to be able to hold both of those tasks really, really well with integrity, with vision. So energy, how do we then bring energy into the system? We bring energy into the system through our breath. Ooh, through pranayama, which is the controlling of our breath. And not just breath work, right? Not just breathing for catharsis and breathing to like feel something, which is a whole other type of illusion. Breath work can be very helpful for sure, but it can also be very seductive. It's one of those practices where we assume a lot is happening because we're having a really big reaction to it, and we can cry and we feel like we're healing, and it's this big like ceremonial situation. Same with the Kundalini awakening situation that's happening on the planet. We think that it's like this big thing, but is it? Is it really helpful? It's helpful for like this much. And what I've seen with people, a lot of people come out of those experiences and they're just completely disillusioned. They don't know how to integrate it. There's not a lot of support there for people. It's just it's a catharsis. And so yoga practices, meditative practices, constructive pranayama, where it's a very slow entry into the breath, this is going to give us something a little bit deeper, something a bit more constructive for a longer period of time. We want to show up to it every day, and put that energy into the system. And then, right, go to the to-do list with clarity. Go to the to-do list with a little more motivation, with a little more inspiration. And that's the game. That is the game. So yeah, that's just a little bit, we can keep chewing on this. I think that it's something that you do kind of have to repeat again and again to begin to understand it. And having a spiritual practice, spiritual discipline, it's just like going to the gym, or it's like something that you have to kind of wrestle with, right? And you've got to get yourself into that place and into that pattern where you start to then see the results. And once you start to see the results that are, a bit more elusive than going to the gym, because if I go to the gym in 3 months, I can start to see toning, I can start to see like the shift that the weights and the workouts are having on my physical body. With a spiritual practice, you're working a bit more with your intuition, you're working more with your subtle body, which is difficult to track. And so there needs to be a bit more reverence for observing the self, a bit more space and time to really, moderate your experience, if you will, right? To go within and to say, okay, I'm feeling some changes here. I'm seeing some things happen. And because it is a slower process, you might feel something, but you're really going to start to see those changes like, months into it, maybe even after a year, which is difficult to stay motivated when you're not seeing like the big changes, which is why, yoga in general feels really good. And if we can connect to the feeling, I feel really good after I practice yoga, I feel space in the body, I feel happy, whatever it is, I feel relaxed. Stay with that. And let that be your motivation, right? I know technically that it is beneficial for me if I do stretch my body. And over a few months' time, maybe even over a year, you're going to start to see where your consciousness is beginning to shift. And your consciousness might shift around your friendships, around your desire nature, your intimate relationships, your food, your relationship with alcohol, your relationship with marijuana, relationship with any type of addictive tendencies. You're going to start to see those things beginning to shift on the positive side. So that is the talk of the day. Thank you so much for being here. Wishing you A lot of love and many, many blessings. Thank you. Thank you.